All right, gentlemen. Excuse me. I've got a little bit of a cold, but no worries. We're going to look at Act 2, Scene 3. Let's start with the porter here. He provides us with some comic relief. You'll notice that this is written differently. It's written in prose rather than what we've seen up to this point. What you've read up to this point is what we would call irregular rhyme. We've had unrhymed lines in iambic pentameter and rhymed lines in various meters throughout most of the play. Here you're going to see, like most of the other mouths of the insane, if you will, that those are written in prose. So we've just come off of King Duncan's murder, and these lines relieve the tension while also heightening the tragedy. He comes in and he is drunk here, and he tells us that he is the gatekeeper of hell. So be thinking about what that significance is in terms of where we are. So we are at Macbeth's castle, which of course is like hell, what's happening inside there. And the porter imagines three men. A farmer, a Jesuit equivocator, and an English tailor. Let's take them one at a time. The farmer has hanged himself on the expectation of plenty. He has expected to make money, but he committed suicide as the price of the crops dropped due to a bounteous harvest. The equivocator, in your footnote, you'll see that this is somebody who, excuse me, never has to take a stance on an issue. He gives ambiguous answers when he's under interrogation to avoid incriminating himself. So that's your note on that. And then you also have a note on the English tailor as well, and it tells you that he skimped on fabric that he would have used to make pants, or to tailor them. So he's trying to get more money for and not giving what he should to actually make the pants, or they called them breeches. So how do all of these reflect what is happening inside Macbeth's castle? Macbeth has hung himself on the expectation of plenty, on expecting to become king, and he has cheated or usurped the throne only to realize what? That like all three of these sinners, Macbeth has taken the short and easy way, the short and easy way to gain power. So we want to look at this language like stealing, swearing both the scales against either scale. So we clearly have a man who has been, has usurped the throne, okay? Stolen it away from the rightful king. In the next part of the scene, Macduff has come to awaken King Duncan, and he comes upon the porter, and the porter begins to go off on this explanation of what drinking causes, and he speaks of it provoking three things. What are those? They are nose painting, sleep, and urine. It provokes and unprovokes. It provokes the desire, takes away the performance, etc. It makes him stand to and not stand to. So clearly these are some sexual references to the effects of too much alcohol. They laugh a little bit, and the porter goes on to explain that it actually also makes you throw up your legs sometimes, and it made him throw up. All right, lovely. Okay, moving on. Sorry. Okay. Macbeth comes into the room, and of course he is trying to be the innocent flower, acting as if he has done nothing, like Lady Macbeth warned him. And Macbeth asks him, well, is the king stirring, worthy thane? And Macbeth gives this really strange reply, not yet. Of course, we know why he's not stirring. And Macbeth goes on to tell him, well, I'll take you to him. He says, oh, I'm sorry to bother you. I know this is a joyful trouble to you, but, and, Macbeth replies with, no problem. We're the labor we delight in is it's no big deal. And then he says, this is the door. We're, of course, waiting for the aftermath here. Macbeth has gone in to awaken the king, and in the meantime, we have some really significant lines here with Lennox answering Macbeth and telling him, telling him that there have been some very unnatural things occur in the actual on the actual earth. All right. What has happened? Well, the night has been unruly. Chimneys have been blown down. Strange screams of death, dire combustion, confused events, obscure bird clamoring all night long, and the earth itself has been feverish and did shake. So, not only have the characters experienced some unnatural consequences, but the earth itself is feeling this crime. Another quite ironic line here with Macbeth coming in and saying, yeah, it was a really rough night. Then Macbeth comes in, and he, of course, utters the words, horror, horror, horror. He can't believe what he has seen. And he gives us here a biblical metaphor when he explains that confusion now hath made his masterpiece. Most sacrilegious murder hath broke ope the Lord's anointed temple, and stole thence the life of the building. So King's, what he's doing here is comparing Duncan's body to a temple. Kings were believed to be God's chosen representatives. That's what Macbeth has done. He has taken away the life of this king. It's his divine right, not Macbeth's divine right. Duncan was chosen, if you will, by God. He was fulfilling his role as the king. And again, we have another unnatural deed, a stealing of the kingship. There's another allusion here to the Gorgon, and I think you have a note on that in your book, so you can look at that. All right, he, screams, "Wake up, everyone! Wake up! Shake off your downy sleep." And Malcolm, Banquo, as from your graves, rise up and walk like sprites to countenance this horror. Tell me this isn't happening. And then the lovely Lady Macbeth comes in and acts as if she doesn't know what's going on. Remember, her plan was to make their clamor roar and act like they're unsure of what occurred, and that's exactly what she's doing here. What's happened? What's the business? That woke us up. Oh goodness! So again, being that innocent flower. Macbeth tells her she, as a woman, it's too much for her to handle, which we of course know if she could have plucked her child from her breast and knocked its brains out, that surely, in our minds, this news would not bother her. Banquo, when he hears of the news, is, of course, just distraught as he can be. Wishes that Macbeth could contradict himself and say it's not so. Right before this, after Banquo does say our royal master's murdered, Lady Macbeth again has a moment where she's showing that innocence that she is trying to hide behind, of course, what has happened. Probably the most important lines in the scene would be these. Here you have some double entendres, which just means double meaning. And I'll go over one of those, and then you can see how the rest of them also are double entendres. He says, had I but died an hour before this chance, I had lived a blessed time. So take this, one way you can take this would be what we know. We know that he is feeling the guilt of this crime, and that if he had died an hour before this, he would not have ever committed it. On the other side of the other meaning you can gain from this would be, in front of all of the people there, he's trying to put on that mask and act like he is very upset, which of course would be the natural thing. And he is saying, oh, if I had died before this, I would not have had to see my own king die. Excuse me, my own king die. Oh, me. The rest of those lines, they do the same thing. There's two meanings. We can understand them two ways because of what we know versus what the people in his castle know. Malcolm and Donalbain enter the scene, and Macbeth tries to tell them what has happened, saying, the spring, the head, the fountain of your blood is stopped, the very source of it is stopped. And Macbeth actually tells them what's occurred, and they're shocked, as you would imagine. And then Lennox explains who they believe has committed the crime, and that would be the guards. So those of his chamber, their faces are badged with blood, and their daggers were on their pillows, and they were scared and distracted. And then, Macbeth, he tells us, I do repent me of my fury that I did kill them. Kill who? Macbeth killed the guards. Now, I want you to think about the word fury here. Repent me of my fury. The fury, of course, he's trying to explain is the fury he feels for, the guards who killed, against the guards who killed the king. You can also think about what he's really repenting is his everything that has just occurred. A very impulsive kind of act here. So think about the impulsiveness of this. Macduff, very wise Macduff here, asks, why did you do this? Wherefore did you so? And Macbeth answers, who can be wise, amazed, temperate, and furious, loyal, and neutral in a moment? No man. He basically has just admitted what his tragic flaw is. Okay? So what would that be? What do you think is his tragic flaw? Okay? We already know from earlier in his speech, in his monologue, he said that he had a vaulting ambition. That clearly is the tragic flaw. But here also there's something we can add to that he can't control himself. He has all of these emotions all at the same time. and he can't control them. Trying to say that it's his violent love for the king that caused this, that outran the pauser reason. Think about Act 1, Scene 3, when Banquo told him, if you bite on that insane root, okay, this is that idea of biting on the insane root. And what does it do? It takes away, takes the reason prisoner. So here, I was unable to use my reason. My violent love for the king caused me to kill the guards. Then he even knows what Duncan's body looked like. Very specific language here. His silver skin laced with his golden blood, and this is his stabs. Looked like a breach in nature. So again, we have the unnatural. Effects. Lady Macbeth faints here, and some scholars believe it's fake. Others say that she actually really did faint. If it's fake, then what she's clearly trying to do is pull the attention away from her husband, to say basically, you're talking too much. If it's not, then she actually is feeling the guilt of what they have done. Malcolm and Donalbain are truly in trouble now. If the king has been killed, then they would be next as Duncan's sons. So what they're going to do is try to get out of there. Before that, though, Banquo has some good lines here with saying, let us meet. Let's do purple. Let us meet and question this most bloody piece of work to know it further. In the great hand of God I stand and fight against treasonous malice. So here you notice that Banquo is all about duty. You have studied this in your theology classes. This is the deontological perspective. So you'll be reading that article next. Macbeth tries to keep his cool and say, let's all, put on manly readiness and meet in the hall together to discuss this. And Malcolm and Donalbain, to each other, are trying to figure out what to do because there are daggers in men's smiles. Okay, so people will look at you and as if when people smile at us, we really don't know if we can trust them. So this is that fair is foul, foul is fair idea. Malcolm is going to go to England, and Donalbain is going to go to Ireland. So that will keep them safer. They won't, if one of them is found and killed, then at least the other one will still be there to ascend the throne if necessary. Not if necessary, it will be necessary. Okay. Lastly, our safest way is to avoid the aim, so they're going to leave their fortune horse. They can't be dainty of leave-taking. They got to get out of there. All right. A little long on this one. Sorry, but this is a long scene. And thank you for putting up with my nasal issues. Have a great one. Bye.